If you liked today's video, please hit that subscribe button and check out more of our amazing content here at Yesterday's Entertainment Tomorrow.
Hey, it's Ryan from Yesterday's Entertainment Tomorrow, and I'm here to talk the Billy Mitchell lawsuits. First, if you liked the video, I'd ask you to hit that subscribe button and check out more of our amazing content here on the channel. Billy Mitchell's back in the news the past few weeks, and not for something he's done that's positive. Billy has sued video game high score keepers Twin Galaxies in the Guinness Book of World Records for the reinstatement of his Pac-Man perfect game high score, or else he's going to sue them for millions of dollars. And additionally, he's threatened YouTube Apollo Legend with $1 million lawsuit as well. Why sue a YouTuber for $1 million? Because Apollo Legend makes proof videos that, through the years, shows that Billy has cheated for those high scores he so covets. Now, this news is not new. Billy's fall from grace is not new. The stories of him being caught cheating are over 2 years old and made worldwide news. Does Billy really feel that his fake scores on games like Donkey Kong and Pac-Man are legitimate? Or is he just sour that it's been proven that he faked many of the scores, including being the first person who was thought to have the first perfect Pac-Man score? I believe the hype. I always looked up to Mitchell. I thought he was great as the edited antagonist in The King of Kong, and thought he made an interesting figure in the world of classic video games. The thing is, these days, experts can expertly tear down videos to expose fraud, and this is what was done in Billy Mitchell's case, being able to prove different things like using MAME instead of original hardware, lack of video proof in the days where such can be produced, etc. To quote Tech Raptor, Billy Mitchell's parade of litigation continues. He's now suing YouTuber Apollo Legend for $1 million over claims he cheated to obtain some of his world-famous Donkey Kong high scores. Apollo Legend first made a video regarding Billy Mitchell's Donkey Kong scores in 2018. The video is entitled, "World's Most Infamous Donkey Kong Player Caught Cheating." Now, more than 2 years later after that video was made, Mitchell has filed a lawsuit against Apollo Legend for defamation. This is the latest lawsuit from Mitchell in a lengthy crusade that seems to be targeting many of the people and organizations that have accused him of cheating. The article goes on to talk about a countersuit launched against Mitchell by Apollo Legend, but this is currently on hold for now as Apollo Legend goes through several legal options on how to fight back against the lawsuit. Does Billy Mitchell believe Apollo Legend has $1 million? Of course not. It's a scare tactic, plain and simple. A move made to have Apollo Legend take down the multitude of videos pointed at Billy Mitchell's cheating. It seems that the proof is in the pudding, and as long as jurors are able to comprehend the technical proof of what Apollo Legend has been showcasing, it won't look good for Billy in court, though it's doubtful this case will ever get that far. At least that's my train of thought. While I'm a few weeks late reporting on this, it's a topic that really interests me, especially as this was a person I once admired who I do believe was cheating in the end just based on the evidence. The burden of proof will be on Mitchell to show if he's legitimate or not, and that evidence is really mounted against him. So I guess it's one of those things to wait and see, but I'm going to be happy to report on it. Now, I wanted to end this by pulling out an old interview I had with Mitchell back in my internet radio days. It was done when arcade owner Richie Knuckles was in studio talking about his life while filming the then upcoming biography on his life called The King of Arcades. Richie was great, and to be honest, Mitchell was a great guest. Though things he said back then now give me pause enough to want to revisit this interview for you all to listen to. It's just audio, but enjoy. And I'll be back with more news as it breaks.
Billy, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
My pleasure.
It's like having Bruce Lee on a show, or someone of that caliber coming on. You know, you're instantly infamous throughout the video game world as being one of the best, if not the best, classic arcade game player ever. Unless you have otherwise to say.
I appreciate that. I just don't believe everything you read about me because I'm not as nice as they make me out to be.
I sure hope not. When you're the best at something, you shouldn't be nice to anybody.
Yeah, well,
or at least that's how they make you seem out to be on the documentaries. But I think we all know better. How does it feel like to be cast as, like, I guess first off, as a bad guy? Let's say King of Kong. You make a classic bad guy, which I'm sure is definitely not the case. But how does it feel to have a movie that was out there in theaters? Where you're coming off
Well, I was really happy that they didn't show the true negative side of me because I thought it might cast me in a bad light. So I'm appreciative of that.
So,
well, the truth is, to expound on your answer, the truth is I get a lot of mail, and Richie has more fun with it than I think anybody. And the truth of the matter is, what I get the biggest kick out of is, again, 99.9% of the people watch a movie and they find it to be funny or entertaining or boring, interesting, stupid, just any one of those emotions. But there's the fringe on either side. The fringe, 0.1%. And on one side, I get marriage proposals, I get pictures sent to me, I've had flowers and gifts. And on the extreme other side, I've had death threats.
what?
It's absolutely wild that there's people. I know how politicians get elected because there's a certain group of people, and maybe more than we want to admit to, who believe anything they see, and they're not really able to separate, creativity or art or Hollywood from reality, or from entertainment. So
I've gotten death threats just by being friends with them.
Oh.
Yeah, all I can do is be kind to them, and I answer them back, and I answer whatever questions they have.
You've been featured in everything from movies to magazines. When did it first come across that you were amazing, phenomenal in video games? Do you remember around about what time, what year that was?
Well, it was in early 1983 that I first started having people ask me for my autograph when I had appeared in places like Life magazine. And, of course, from Life magazine, I started going on different news stations and in different newspapers. I had people mail me copies of the newspapers as far away as Germany, asking me to autograph it and send it back. So being that I was a teenager and having that kind of attention was something that it's just not possible not to get a tremendous kick out of that. And so as a kid, I thought, wow, that's really wild. But when things sort of settled down in the mid-'80s and classic gaming, or the golden age of classic gaming, came to a close, I always thought to myself, I said, well, I'll always have these memories to look back on. I'll always have this fun to look back on, and I suppose I'll tell stories. I truly never had any idea that, say, around 20 years into it, where things become a classic, much like a car becomes a classic, and then it's in greater demand. And then contests and gatherings and things like what Richie does would come together and begin to have fun again, that people would become so obsessive about it. I never imagined that in the early days. And I look at it now, every single day of my life, I can't see for a single second any hint that it's going to go away. It seems like it's
not with me around, right, Bill?
Yeah, I promised myself I would never unappreciate it, so I guess I'm never gonna.
When was the first time it kind of resurged for you? Where were you? What was that year where you were like, people came back and realized that you were a classic, that you were a great player? When was that about, and what did that feel like to feel that resurgence?
Well, it all happened in different little pockets, if that's the right way to describe it. It happened in small venues. It happened on a smaller scale. But when the perfect score on Pac-Man came, and I really had no idea at all that it would be like this, I had no idea the explosion that it would create. Timing is everything in the world, and the fact that had something happened tremendously on that weekend in July of 1999, that would have hit the front pages, and nobody would have remembered me, and the feat would have went unnoticed. But it was a relatively quiet weekend, and that was something that went on the AP wire, and it was a very American thing over the 4th of July weekend against my Canadian friend. And the truth of the matter is I did articles and newspapers and interviews in countries and languages I didn't know existed. I went on a cruise ship so to escape it, and they tracked me down on the cruise ship. And I just had no idea that it would explode to the level that it did. I couldn't manufacture that energy and that timing and that destiny. I couldn't do it all over again if I tried.
Hey, Bill, this is Jacques. We had a question on the ride down in the car. What is a perfect game in Pac-Man?
Oh, it's 3,333,360. That's 256 boards, every ghost, every dot, every energizer, every prize, every blue man, all 4 energizers, never missing one, more than 4 hours of play,
Never dying.
and never dying once. Basically, what you do is you exhaust the memory that is within the game. You exhaust the memory, and the game has nowhere to go. You reach what's called the zero board.
So it's not so much you beat the game itself, you actually destroy it. Like you murder its soul.
You gobble it up.
Right, and you're still on first man.
Yes, I'm the first man. Yeah, and Billy was the first to ever achieve that.
I am in awe of you, dude. That is insane.
Well, for those of you who've been in Quaker Bridge Mall or Oxford Valley locally in a spaceport, they would have kicked your ass out after 4 hours standing there for that one game.
You motherfucker got my quarter. Right here. I put it on the thing. I put it on.
I have faced that level of animosity before.
Well, Bill's
sure.
quite a striking figure. He's 6 foot. What are you, 6'6"?
6'5".
6'5", and very, very athletic. So not many people mess with him.
Well, I'm going to drop the dime.
The only reason why Richie's afraid of me is because I got a 9.5 foot reach.
I'm not afraid of you, bro. I know. I get in close and uppercut, and you'd be out.
Hey, Bill, so I'm wondering if something to do with your height looking down on the machine is just intimidating where it crumbles. Is that what it is?
There's been a couple that have crumbled, yeah.
How did you come about to know Richie?
Basically, Richie kept sending me gifts in the mail and begging me for
Let me answer this one. We were both invited to the Today Show, and it was promotion for the King of Kong. The King of Kong was going to come out in a few weeks, and they had called me and said, would you please bring a Donkey Kong machine into Rockefeller Center in the middle of the night? And your payment will be you'll get to meet Billy Mitchell. And I'm like, Billy who? You mean the airline pilot? What are you talking about? He's dead. And they go, no, he's the star of this upcoming movie, The King of Kong. And I had no clue. The arcade had only been open for 6 months, and I was unaware of this movie coming out. So after I negotiated a price, I wound up agreeing and bringing in a Donkey Kong in the middle of the night to where they filmed the Today Show. And
and another great player, Abner Ashman, was there.
Yes, Abner Ashman is Ms. Pac-Man fame. Well, we get there, and we set up the machine at like 3 a.m., and we wound up, I found a nice, comfortable little spot to fall asleep until the sun came up, and there walks Billy, and Billy comes in, 6 foot something, a tall drink of water with a American tie, and my friends and I were from Jersey. We instantly started ripping on him. He doesn't look like anything out of New Jersey, so we started teasing him. And Bill can hang. This is one of the main reasons Bill and I are tight, is we busted his balls hard. And instead of cowering and running away and saying to Katie Couric, these guys are picking on me, instead of that, he busted balls right back, made fun of me for being short, and my name and just anything he could think of, he started ripping on us back. And before you know it, we bonded over ball busting and video games, and we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. But to take that situation and step back a second, I talked about how timing is everything. I mean, I do. I truly have to be grateful. I always tell people when I'm humble, which is not very often, and since nobody listens to your show, I can say it here.
We have tens of fans.
When it comes to good fortune, I mean, I was always there when the wheel went round. It was just that simple. I just happened to be there when the wheel went round all the time. Now, Richie was there with me then, but it was at the early show and it was July 7th. And I was in the studio at 6 o'clock in the morning, or about to go in the studio, when the bombs went off in the London subways. So I was there, and that was the end of that. I never went on the show, and I flew home. Something could have happened on July 3rd, 1999 that would have just knocked the spirit that was Perfect Pac-Man out of there, but for some reason it was destined not to be. And, but I was there in the studios when the bombs went off in the London subway, and they canceled everything, and the lady said, everything's been canceled. She said, except you. You're still going on. And I said, okay. And then when I was about to go on at like 35 past the hour, George Bush came on TV to speak to everybody, and it nerved them. They wanted to listen to him instead of me. I think that's like barbaric. You know?
Yes.
But that's what really happened.
No, we enjoyed that day, and basically after we got done busting balls and playing some Donkey Kong, Billy said, "Richie, you really need to meet Walter Day. He is a wonderful guy. He owns Twin Galaxies, and I think your energy, along with his, just history, I think you guys would hit it off and do great." And I spoke to Billy about what I felt was wrong with the way things were going, and Billy and I both had this really, really grandiose scheme and plan to bring classic gaming to the forefront. And I met Walter, and Billy and Walter and I instantly hit it off. And honestly, I have friends from when I was in high school. I have friends from when I was in kindergarten. I have family. I speak to Billy and Walter more than I speak to my friends I've known since kindergarten now. It's just, we just all hit it off really well. Bill, in all honesty, out of this gaming culture, do you feel, what would you say is a percentage of people we meet in the gaming scene are normal?
Well,
honestly,
I have a line that I use, and I'm very generous when I say this, but I always say if you took the top 100 video game players and you had them in a room, at least 50 of them are dysfunctional. And the other 50 of us pretend like we're not, and you believe it.
And I'm one of those. I know I'm crazy, but...
but again, the fact of the matter is, in talking to Richie, I'll say something nice about him since nobody ever does here. And Richie will remember this. The one thing I recall, because I do a lot of things for a lot of people in the game industry, and I don't ever want any attention for it, and I don't need somebody to describe it now. But the fact is, I did a few favors for Richie. I sent him some things for his arcade, just some things that I made that were courtesy of Billy Mitchell, and I made them for him. And they were to commemorate some of what he was doing. And he did one thing. I've done this over 100 times, what I did for him. And he did one thing that not one person has ever done.
So thank you.
He actually called me back afterwards and said thank you.
Wow. Well,
no one's ever said thank you before that.
That's amazing.
So that's what,
that blows me away.
That is amazing.
No, so that's what made me remember him. I mean, I felt bad for people because there's an event and I know they're hard on times or whatever, and I sent them a plane ticket. I've seen them at the event, and they didn't say, "Oh, gee, man, I really appreciate this, man. That was awesome." And it's so much to the point that I actually get a kick out of it that common courtesy flips people's minds to the point that I talked to Richie about it, and I've done things at events with him since then for other people. And I said, "Richie, not one person took notice or said thank you." And we just laugh at it.
We laugh at it because it happens every time. We'll give away free, tons of free things, and nobody even thinks to come over and say thank you. Like, say if the event is successful and you make a little bit of money, you have 5-10 shirts left over. We give away the last couple shirts to make people happy. No, but they just grab it and run.
I think it's the culture. You think like some of the people who actually play games might be a little just introverted, or I think they're that miserable?
No, I think it's in every hobby you're going to find that. In the punk rock scene, same way,
Billy, are you glad that another documentary is coming along, like The King of Arcades, and it's about Richie and about his lifestyle, about Twin Galaxies? Are you glad that this is continuing on in the entertainment medium, such as a movie?
Wow, this was first I heard of it, Richie. What are you talking about?
We didn't have him sign the paperwork yet. He didn't spill the beans. Oh no, he didn't. No. Sean just had a heart attack. He knows about it.
I'm really into the history of gaming, and I'm really into it no matter what. When you tell the real history, because we're not trying to rewrite history. We want it historical, just the way it was. And sometimes, there's lumps in the carpet on that, and oh well. If there's lumps in the carpet, well then, whoever's caught in that lump, including myself, will have to deal with it. But there's so much good and there's so much positive that came out of it. And Richie and I seem to agree on the same philosophy, so that's why I'm a part of what he's doing to every degree that I can be.
Yeah, he is very generous with his time and generous in every way. You're a good friend, Billy. You know that.
No, I don't. No one ever tells me that.
All right, let's hang up with him, because this guy's boring.
He's amazing. That's what you're talking
First time I
about.
heard it from you, Richie. Why is that? Because you're on the air? No, it is. It's well appreciated, and everything is reciprocated both ways.
That's
You know,
great.
it's kind of funny though. I got to pick on Richie. I've educated him a little. I've told him certain things would happen, certain problems, and he goes, "Oh no, man, everything's great." He says that kind of stuff never happens to me. I said, "It's coming. You're going to have a problem with this guy, this way, that way."
He's talking about the
Sure
inheritance of Twin Galaxies.
Sure enough, a week or two later, he goes, "Man, I don't understand. I've been friends with that guy for years. He won't even talk to me anymore." And I say, "Oh well, the Billy Mitchell syndrome."
Yep. Yeah, Twin Galaxies is either cursed or something because it seems like drama follows that company everywhere you go.
Billy, what do you hold any current high scores in any of the classic games?
Let's start with the easy one. When we start with Pac-Man,
Okay.
Neil Armstrong was the first one to the moon. Do you know anybody who got there before him?
No.
Well, then he'll always have the record now, won't he?
Yes, he
That's the
will.
easiest one to describe. But the truth is, if it's anything to do with the promotion or push your sport of classic gaming, I mean, I'm in favor of it. You know, there's different things we do, and I try to give people their due no matter what. As I say to Richie, you know, for example, you know, we'll take somebody like Abner, and he'll have the world record on this Pac-Man, and then, you know, maybe a week from that, he may lose the record to somebody, and someone will say, "Oh, that's Abner. Yeah, he's a world champion on Miss Pac-Man." No, he's not. He lost the title. Oh, that's it. He's all washed up. Throw the guy out the pasture. You know, we do that in the game industry, and as I try to say to people who are our friends, you know, the fact that, you know, if Tiger Woods wins Augusta this year, and you know, then later on next year he loses it, he's still a champion.
That's right.
You know, and we tend to treat people very harshly. We do.
You never have to
ourselves.
give back that Super Bowl ring. Once you won it, it's yours.
You're right.
So
That's good. That's good.
You know
That's a
what
good
I mean?
analogy.
That's-
I've heard
yeah.
Billy say the speech over and over, but I like that.
Well, Billy, you're an absolute true champion, and I just want to thank you, for taking time out of your night to come here and come onto the show. And was there any last questions for Billy?
I
Bill,
always
say hi
like
to the girls
tough
for me.
questions. Don't we have any tough questions?
So, Jeff.
Do I have any tough
That's what I
questions?
He's
said
a
when I
tough
was on-
question.
on stage at the Smithsonian, Richie. I said, "Doesn't anybody have any tough questions?"
Yeah, Billy, tell him what happened to me at the Smithsonian.
Oh, you got thrown out. You did good.
How do you get
Well, he had
thrown out
the
of the
camera, and you know, Richie, he knows how to be loud and promotional. and we had friends on stage, and everything was going great, and Richie was in favor of it, and he was just, you know, making it known, and he had his camera rolling, and you know, there was
Let's just say it was St. Patrick's Day, and
yeah, and
we
there
just
was
got
a
back
lady
from
the
lunch.
Wizard of Oz.
That didn't help
She
much,
wanted to
right?
outshine Richie, and she just wasn't going to get away with it.
No, they weren't going to let me get away with being loud in the Smithsonian.